Hello and welcome to One-on-One Sports. I'm Andrew Vendelis.
And I'm Matt. Another great week for sports, and we have a lot to talk about, so let's kick things off with the quick hitters. WNBA has long been overlooked, but recently we've seen growing interest and coverage surrounding the league. Obviously, the WNBA is not at the same popularity level of the NBA, but it seems to be at an all-time high in terms of coverage and popularity. Andrew, what is the next step for the WNBA to gain their spot in society?
You got to get the mainstream exposure. I think the No White House invitation was a sad moment, but at the same time, if you get them on something like Jimmy Fallon or a late-night talk show, especially with Seattle winning the championship, I think it's a great way to get them out there to a more mainstream audience.
Exactly. They have a lot of things. They have a TV deal with ESPN. Their sponsorship, Verizon, just one of the bigger sponsors. They have rising stars like Elena Delle Donne, Brianna Stewart, Maya Moore. They have the talent, the show, the money. And when you look at things, they're only 20 years into this league. It was only founded 20 years ago. You look at where the NBA was 20 years into their existence, they weren't at the same level.
No,
so I think
at all.
In terms of just longevity, the WNBA is okay.
I think one thing that also needs to be done is more sports shows need to give them coverage. I mean, you have shows like First Take going to places where the finals or the Super Bowl are located.
Absolutely.
Why not do the same thing with the WNBA finals and give these teams, especially more featured coverage per team? You could go to Seattle for a celebration there if they do have one. Either way, I think more outlets need to get out there and cover it. It's the only way this thing will
Especially
grow.
because the number one thing to improve is attendance, and when there's First Take, when there's SportsCenter on location at a stadium, that obviously improves attendance.
Exactly. So only onward and upward for the WNBA,
Absolutely.
it seems. Angels center fielder Mike Trout is regarded as the best baseball player in the game today. This past week, news surfaced that the Angels are interested in offering Trout a lifetime contract to stay in LA. Matt, do you think that this is a wise decision by the Angels, and should Mike Trout take it?
This question is not about Mike Trout, and here's why.
You think it's about the Angels?
Yes, Mike Trout should be an Angel for life. That's fine, but
Yes.
they can't overpay him, and here's why. As of right now, they're paying 4 players not named Mike Trout over $10 million. Andrelton Simmons, Zach Cozart, Justin Upton, Albert Pujols. That's not a very good cast of players who support Mike Trout. Now, yes, Shohei Ohtani is currently on a rookie minimum contract, which is great for the next 6 years. Once he gets that $200 million that he's worth, they might be out of money if they paid Mike Trout too much.
Yeah, but the Angels need him, and it may compromise bringing in big free agent names. Obviously, you mentioned Ohtani has to be paid, and that's going to be a lot of money divvied up between them. But when you have a guy who's hitting 33 home runs at the time of this filming, near 70 RBIs, and leads the league in 4 different categories, he is definitely an asset, not only to the Angels, but to anyone else who might be on the hunt for him.
Exactly, but like I said, and we saw this over and over again when people were talking about Mike Trout is not a one-man team. Baseball is not a one-person sport. As good as Mike Trout is, he needs help. The pitching staff is not great. The offense is not great, aside from Ohtani, who's doing great this year, and Mike Trout. So he needs players, and they need money.
But where I see the reservations is that Trout even said himself he wants to wait till the next offseason to discuss anything. So it looks like the Angels are going to have a lot of waiting.
They tried to stretch his contract into a lifetime contract. Last time they talked about it, it fell apart for good reason, because he's only 27. He has plenty of time. I think he'll get the lifetime contract eventually.
Definitely.
Two-time Pro Bowler Vontae Davis signed a 1-year, $5 million contract with the Buffalo Bills this offseason. But just 2 games in, he called it quits and retired from the NFL. Mid-game on Sunday against the LA Chargers. Andrew, what does this say about Davis and also about the Bills franchise moving forward this year?
The Bills are imploding right now, and this is just a part of a long list of things going wrong for Buffalo right now. You have the quarterback situation between Peterman and Josh Allen. You have the secondary falling apart. Well, now they only have really like Tre'Davious White as their star cornerback in the secondary. And speaking for Davis himself, this is one word: pathetic. You're going to walk away from $5 million just because you just want to call it quits because you see no future for this team. I think it's unprofessional and definitely something that gives a bad look not only on Davis but the Bills franchise itself.
It concerns me. You mentioned, walking away in the middle of a game. Obviously, that's bad. I think it sheds a bad light on the Bills and on his teammates. But you look at this, he's 30, right? A couple of years removed from being a Pro Bowler in Indianapolis. What happened?
I don't know.
Happens
He went
in
to
the middle of
Miami,
a game?
I think. And
what happens in the middle of a game that he says, I can't do this anymore? What has possibly happened against the Chargers of all teams?
Obviously, they're getting pummeled by the Chargers in this. 31-20, I think, was the score. But at the same time, you just don't just abandon a team at halftime. That's just not what you do. At least ride out the game, ride out like your contract at least. $5 million is a lot of money to walk away from.
Yeah, the Bills players they talked to after the game were upset. They were confused. They didn't understand. He was gone out of the parking lot by the time the game ended.
Yeah, no trace to be found at all, and I just think it's very unprofessional.
It's confusing and it's sad. Hopefully Vontae Davis gets over this and maybe makes a return. Who knows?
Over the past 18 years, the Knicks have been the laughingstock of the NBA. They've had a habit of throwing money at players well past their prime, such as Amare Stoudemire and most notably, center Joakim Noah. Recent news says that the Knicks are hoping to dump Noah, either in a trade or through the stretch proposition, before the training camp. Matt, should the Knicks get rid of him or stretch him to the summer to see if they have any chance of a good deal?
I'm going to answer that with one number, 7. That's how many games Joakim Noah played this past season. A combination of shoulder surgery and a drug suspension meant he barely played off the bench. And it's sad because he's an all-star. He was at one point a defensive player of the year, and now he's regressed to someone who barely came off the bench for a Knicks team that was
per game,
below
I think,
500.
Too.
Exactly, yeah.
And definitely, expectations say he's going to be out before training camp anyway, but the rumor mill's running wild. But $33 million on his contract left for 2 years is a lot to ask from any team in the world. He's a solid passer and defender, but in a league where that's not really the priority for teams anymore, who's going to want him, you know?
Exactly. His shooting ability is well below par for essentially what is average for centers now, which is pretty decent shooting. We look at players like Karl Anthony Towns, who's a good shooter. Joakim Noah is just not going to produce at the level he used to. He's not worth the money they're paying him.
My thing is, if you keep him on the Knicks, what value is he going to bring?
Exactly. At the minutes per game he played last year, he did essentially nothing. He's going to do the same this year if he stays with them.
Exactly. Well, that's all the time we have for the quick hitters.
When we come back, I'll be taking a swing at the MLB postseason.